Moritz Daniel Oppenheim is a figure closely associated with our community. His portrayals of Orthodox Jewish life in early 19th century Germany, or earlier, always strikes a chord within us. We relate to the events, the sentiments, and the characters within his Lilliputian world of oil colors. We have affixed his art to our publications and to the walls of our living quarters. Who was he, and why have his pictures become the icons of our religious life? Born in Hanau in 1800, he was raised on the Judengasse, and with its Napoleonic emancipation, attended the Hanau Academy of Drawing. After showing a quick mastery of sketch and oils, he was admitted to the Munich Academy of the Fine Arts, making him the first Jewish painter with academic training. His early works focused on biblical themes, and this led him to travel to Paris, Rome, and Naples over a span of several years. Upon his return to Germany, he profited from commissioned portraits, among those depictions that of Kaiser Otto IV and Joseph II, which hang to this day in the historical town hall of Frankfurt, the Romer. Among his most important portraits, those of the Rothschild family, Heinrich Heine, and Goethe. But it was his last artistic phase that created his legacy far beyond the art of the period. With his turn towards a portrayal of traditional Jewish life, Oppenheim created widely celebrated works that were not considered novel or important artistically. The Biedermeier era of German self-portrayal had ended, but Oppenheim wanted, in a nostalgic way, to record the world he came from, to counter the fast pace of modernity with a smack of the old. He wanted to paint the forgotten world of the early 19th century, where hints of the medieval were still visible, and a peaceful innocence was dying with the emancipation. He missed his mother, his family, his rabbi, and perhaps his very childhood. So from the early 1850s until his passing in 1882, Oppenheim produced what was to become a cycle of the Jewish year, with depictions of Jewish rituals and holidays, and the best-selling book in all of Germany and later even in the US upon its publishing. His pictures accurately portray religious life with recurring themes such as the Havdalah spice box, the Mizrach sign pointing out the direction of Jerusalem, the study of Talmud, juxtaposed at times with the presence of literature or a newspaper, traces of medieval furnishings, and signs of bourgeoisie life celebrated together. Today we will discuss the Sukkos painting of Oppenheim, one of his first in family life portraits. Joining us to discuss this portrait is Isabel Gathof, a young, fresh, and idealistic filmmaker who has produced a documentary on Oppenheim that is receiving accolade and recognition from Europe to down under.
There are actually two versions of Moritz Daniel Oppenheim's depiction of the Jewish holiday Sukkot, das Laubhütten-Fest. And that's actually something pretty characteristic when talking about Moritz Daniel Oppenheim's depictions of traditional Jewish family life in general. So how's that? You have to know that back then in Oppenheim's times, it was not yet so easy to reproduce full-color oil paintings. That's why Moritz Daniel Oppenheim's publisher, Heinrich Keller, came up with the brilliant idea of asking Oppenheim to repaint his own paintings again, but this time using only black and white colors and shades of gray, the so-called grisaille technique. This enabled Oppenheim, because he knew the outcome would be as brilliant as the original, to pay attention to those many lovely little details we can find on his paintings. So the person we see in the Sukkah studying in the candlelight of the so-called Judenstern, which was very famous for German Jewry. You could find this only in Germany, the typical lamp that is hanging from the ceiling of the Sukkah. And the person we can see here is believed to be Nathan Sontheimer. And Nathan Sontheimer was the son of the famous Rabbi Moshe Tuvia Sontheimer, who, by the way, is also believed to be the rabbi depicted in the painting The Blessing of the Rabbi. And he was the rabbi in Hanau, the rabbi of the Jewish community of Hanau back in Oppenheim's times. So Moshe Tuvia lived from 1755 till 1830, and his son, Nathan Sontheimer, the person who is believed to be shown here, was born in 1778 in Fürth in Bavaria and died in Hanau, Oppenheim's hometown, which happens to be my hometown as well, in the year 1862. So we have in the first version of that particular painting a religious Jew sitting in the Sukkah, studying most likely in the Talmud, and we have a schoolboy peeping in from the side. Seems to be something he has never seen before, and he's looking at the ceiling of the Sukkah and all the beautiful ornaments inside there, and it's some kind of hidden world. But on the other hand, it's open, and it's a sign that, or actually a clue for us, as we have to talk about some symbolism that Oppenheim uses here, which actually can be found in many of his paintings, because the boy is blonde. The blonde hair color is attributed to the non-Jews in his paintings, and the non-Jew here is standing outside of the Sukkah. But nevertheless, the Sukkah, and the Sukkah can be seen as a symbol for Judaism, or Judaism itself, that is open. It's open up, and the Christian majority society had the possibility to peep in through Moritz Daniel Oppenheim's paintings, and this was his main intention, to open up towards the Christian neighbors. You can tell not only by the fact that this painting was created long after the gates of the Hanau Judengasse opened, which was connected to the French occupation in the year 1806. And so this is why we are not in the Judengasse here, because why would there be a Christian boy, walking through the streets, being able to have a glimpse into the Sukkah? And also the fact, I don't know if you recognize, but we have another protagonist outside the Sukkah. So the fact that she's outside also allows the assumption that she's also not Jewish.
That's the maid, I guess.
The maid, exactly. And to be able to have a maid at home who brings the hot soup is a sign of wealth. It's a sign of social privilege. So there's also a progress when it comes to social standards, comparing the first version of his painting of Sukkot with the second version. So, comparing the first version of the painting with the second version of the painting, you could say, first of all, there are many more people in the painting than in the first version. Because whereas in the first version you have one religious Jew dedicating himself to religious studies. In the second painting, the second version of Sukkot, there's a shift of ideas. There's all of a sudden the family in the very center of the painting. So it's not about religious studies, but it's about keeping the tradition in the family and celebrating Sukkot within the family and with your loved ones. As you know, Leopold Stein, the Reform rabbi back in Oppenheim's times in Frankfurt, was commenting on his paintings. And I took the liberty to translate his text that he accompanied to this painting. So the text accompanying the painting of Sukkot in the 1886 edition of Oppenheims Bilderzyklus zum altjüdischen Familienleben, the book, goes like this. While two handsome Christian boys carrying their satchel on their back are looking into the hut, one with intriguing curiosity, the other one stretched with eagerness. They are not scoffing at it, like they are not mocking it, they are not mocking the scene, as the soft moonlight of tolerance has already shone on them. And if that kind of progress wasn't too much for a German schoolboy, we can dare the hypothesis: the well-behaved little boy took off his cap.